Shalom, I'm Uri Polochowski, and this is the 60 on the 95, the latest Israel news for teen Israel advocates. Foreign ministers of the 28 European Union member states, the EU, passed a resolution stating that in the case of a peace treaty between the Israelis and the Palestinians, both Israel and the Palestinians would receive an unprecedented package of economic, political, and security aid, and both sides' relations with the EU would be upgraded to special privileged partnership, the top status of a non-member state of the EU. But the European Union is also pressuring Israel and the Palestinians to make progress in the peace talks. The 5 largest EU states told Israel on Monday that if it declares construction of new settlements after the planned release of Palestinian prisoners at the end of this month, and the talks collapse, Israel will be held responsible. The background to this story is complicated. Israel agreed to President Obama's request that if PA President Abbas continued negotiating, he would release convicted murderers and terrorists from Israeli prisons. Many in Prime Minister Netanyahu's cabinet were against this, and reports surfaced that in order to placate them, Prime Minister Netanyahu promised that for every prisoner release, he would announce more building in the West Bank, something those on the right in Israel, the same people against the prisoners deal, would love. Every terrorist released has accompanied an announcement of building. Reports are that America approved the Prime Minister's deal. This has angered the Palestinians, but for the EU to place all blame on Israel for collapsed talks even before the collapse is absurd. A suicide bomber drove an apparently explosives-laden vehicle into 2 vans carrying Hezbollah operatives in eastern Lebanon early Tuesday morning, causing a number of casualties. We're not happy to see anyone killed, but when terrorists are killed in a suicide bombing, one can't help but exclaim, "What goes around comes around." It was not immediately clear who was responsible for the incident. Hezbollah has been increasingly subject to attacks in Lebanon as its involvement in Syria's conflict on the side of President Bashar Assad has caused tensions with Sunni groups. The membership of the American Studies Association, a union of different academics, endorsed this National Council's call for a boycott of Israeli universities. 2/3 of the 1,252 members who voted approved the boycott, according to an ASA announcement Monday, a day after the deadline for voting. At the time of the vote, there were 3,853 eligible voters, which means that only 1/3 of the membership participated, which really means that a few anti-Semites pushed this vote through. In the resolution passed unanimously by the ASA National Council on December 4th, the group asserted that Palestinian students and scholars enjoy no effective or substantive academic freedom under Israeli rule, and that Israeli institutions of higher learning are a party to Israeli state policies that violate human rights and negatively impact the working conditions of Palestinian scholars and students. National Council President of the American Association, Curtis Mares, admitted that ASA has never before called for a boycott of any other nation's universities, and not dispute that many other countries, including some of those in Israel's own region, are considered to have a comparable, if not worse, human rights record than Israel, like not allowing women into university. Israeli Ambassador to America Ron Dermer said, "With this decision, the ASA follows other infamous organizations that have twisted the notion of human rights beyond recognition. So those democratic countries who actually uphold human rights, like Israel, are cast as the greatest violators of human rights. The singling out of the Jewish state for boycott is no different than the many attempts throughout history to single out Jews and hold them to a different standard." That's been today's 60 on the 95, the latest Israel news for teen Israel advocates. We hope you'll tune in next time. Have a great day, and let's look forward to peace in Israel. Shalom.